Boxing truth here. Triple G doesn't need Danny Jacobs. Yeah, sure, him and his team would like to make the fight. They would like to put this fight on for the fans. But they're not going to bend over backwards for Danny Jacobs. Not a guy who is just a challenger, a mandatory challenger to one of Golovkin's belts of the sanctioning bodies. Truth is, Jacobs is not even the fourth biggest fight in the middleweight division for Gennady Golovkin. Both Saunders and Eubank are bigger fights for Golovkin. Canelo fights a bigger fight for Golovkin in the middleweight division. And Golovkin has to take a pay cut to fight Danny Jacobs. He's not going to make anywhere near the type of money he made for Kell Brook. Since this fight with Jacobs will only be on regular HBO, there won't be any pay-per-view money coming in, as in the case of Golovkin Brook, because that fight was on pay-per-view and over in the UK. So Golovkin and his team ain't sweating if Jacobs doesn't take the fight. They can make the same financials fighting anybody else, any rated contender within the sanctioning bodies that Golovkin holds. Because Jacobs really doesn't have anything to offer Golovkin. He's just a mandatory challenge that Golovkin's willing to fulfill. But Jacobs doesn't want to take what he's offered. Feels he's entitled to 40%. Even though he's done jack shit in his career, he's not a draw. And really doesn't put much of an incentive for Golovkin to take the fight. I mean, Golovkin can make money fighting anybody. He's must-see TV. That's not the same case for Danny Jacobs. It could really cost his career if Jacobs just vacates his belt and gives away his position to fight Golovkin for an alternative option that doesn't really exist. I mean, what's out there for Jacobs if he doesn't take this fight? He could fight Golovkin for a career-high payday for 3 major titles in the middleweight division in front of a sold-out crowd in New York, wherever it takes place, on a big stage, with a chance to topple one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world and put himself on the map and actually earn the type of paydays that he's requesting from Golovkin's team, instead of just demanding it when he hasn't done anything. He's only a challenger, just a mandatory contender to one of Golovkin's belts. He'll have earned that right if he takes the fight and beats Golovkin. That's the thing. He doesn't bring anything to the table. No economic muscle. Not much name recognition. Doesn't bring a belt besides a bogus one. If he had a major world title, then yeah, we're talking. He can definitely demand a much higher percentage because he has something that Golovkin desperately wants. WBO title, the last belt that he needs as part of his collection to be recognized as the undisputed champion in the middleweight division. But Jacobs doesn't have that title. He doesn't have the WBO strap. He doesn't have a major world title around his waist, because if he did, he could demand for a higher percentage. But he doesn't. He's just a mandatory challenger, and the WBA has ruled in the favor of Golovkin that the split will remain as it states in the rules. 75% for the super champion, 25% for the regular champion. So what's Jacobs going to do? His only option is to make the deal. If he doesn't, he's going to get a 25% split. And his trainer's already on record that if it goes to a purse bid, the fight will most likely not happen, since Haim is not going to allow Jacobs to fight for just a 25% split. And just like Abel Sanchez said, he doesn't see any promoter putting more than $3-4 million for this fight. You just don't see any outrageous purse bids when it comes to the money being thrown out for fights. And whatever promoter or entity out there in boxing puts money down for this fight, if it goes to a purse bid, they're going to want to try to profit from this event. So I don't see any outrageous bids. No more than $3, $4, $5 million for this fight, since they're going to try to make a profit from this event. And since there's no pay-per-view money coming in, since it's going to be a regular HBO fight, you really can't expect an outrageous purse being thrown out there for the bid. And what's Jacobs going to get stuck with? Fighting less than 1.5 million, maybe even less than $1 million or around $1 million. You definitely can't see Jacobs taking that fight for that amount of money. It's just a 25% split. But the thing is, Jacobs needs Golovkin more than Golovkin needs Jacobs. Golovkin can make money fighting anybody. Jacobs, if he doesn't take this fight, ends up vacating the belt. He not only give away his position, but he'll end up fighting another no-name opponent for probably less than 7 figures in front of an empty arena if he tries to compete with Golovkin in New York. I mean, who could he fight? Who's out there for him if he doesn't take this fight? What type of payday could he get if he doesn't take this fight? I mean, there's a very high incentive for Jacobs to take this fight. Career high payday, 3 belts, 3 major world titles, a chance to challenge and beat one of the best fighters in the game, and he's hesitant to take it. I mean, it just makes you scratch your head when people are comparing Golovkin's situation with Canelo compared to Jacob's situation with Golovkin. It's just 2 very different situations. 2 very different negotiations, 2 very different bottom lines of the numbers being produced for both fights. I mean, you're comparing a pay-per-view fight that will generate millions and millions of dollars compared to a regular HBO fight that won't even generate 8 figures in revenue. I mean, you got to take what you can get, man. There's no more money going to be in place for this fight. There's no more money. I mean, where else the money going to come from? You know, and people are saying that Golovkin should just take what's being offered with Canelo. Since people are pushing for Jacobs to take what's offered, whatever's being offered. I don't know what's being offered. Maybe Golovkin's team are offering more than 25, just not 40%. Or maybe they're insisting on 25%. I don't know. But the point is, Jacobs is not going to get the type of money that he wants for this fight. It's not going to happen since the logistics are not there. It's not going to be on pay-per-view. Where's the money going to come from? I mean, there's a lot more money on the table for Canelo Golovkin for Golovkin just to take the first offer that's being given to him. Just too much money on the table just to take a flat fee for that fight. But for this Golovkin-Jacobs fight, I mean, that's all you're going to be offered. I mean, you could wait if you want, but if you're not in a position to fight Golovkin, why should Golovkin fight you? If you're not offering anything more than what Golovkin can make fighting other opponents, then, you know, if you're not the biggest fight out there, if you're not in the position, if you're not the mandatory, then why is Golovkin going to fight you? This is Jacobs' chance. If he doesn't take it, then he might never get this fight, since he'll be giving up his position if he vacates that strap. That strap will no longer exist, that bogus strap Jacobs has, if he vacates the belt. Golovkin will then be the undisputed WBA champion of that organization. But, you know, like I said in my previous video, you know, a lot of people are talking about fight negotiations, comparing different fights when the numbers are different, the bottom lines are different. Every situation is different. Canelo Golovkin is a lot different. Golovkin Jacobs is a totally different situation. And just like Mayweather De La Hoya, that was a totally different situation. Yeah, it's true. Mayweather was the B-side. He took the lesser share of the pie, but, you know, at the end of the day, Mayweather came away with $25 million guaranteed from the De La Hoya fight. I mean, who wouldn't take that fight? You wouldn't fight anybody for $25 million? I mean, he got the short end of the deal, but at the end of the day, he was very duly compensated. $25 million. He came away from that fight. And he looked at the bigger picture. If he knew if he beat Oscar, it would produce bigger paydays down the road, and it did. But Jacobs, you know, he's got to take what he can get for this fight. It's not going to be the type of payday that he craves for a Golovkin fight. But if he takes the fight, beats him, wins, then he will have earned those paydays. The bigger paydays will come if he can get these type of wins under his belt, like beating a Gennady Golovkin. What could it do? What it could do for his career? He could demand much more favorable terms for a rematch. He'll be in a much better position than he is now, at just a 25% split for a potential bid. But the clock is ticking. I'm hearing Jacobs just going to vacate the belt since he couldn't get the terms that he wanted. The WBA rejected his requests, and now Golovkin got him by the balls. I mean, Golovkin ain't sweating him, man. If Jacobs don't take the fight, then whatever. He's good. He can make money fighting anybody else. He'll just continue to push for the Canelo fight or the Saunders fights. Those are the two fights that he truly wants. Jacobs, he's just a Mendo obligation that Golovkin's willing to fulfill. But if he doesn't take it, then he'll easily be replaced by another opponent. And the show will go on for Gennady Golovkin. And for Jacobs, what's out there for him? He's just gonna have a lost opportunity for a career-defining fight, just to turn down that fight, vacate his bogus belt, and end up fighting another no-name opponent or hand-picked, carefully selected opponent in front of an empty arena for probably less than 7 figures. But hey, it's your career, Jacobs. You don't take the fight, no one gives a shit about your next move or your next fight. And that's just the way it is. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.